licensed clinical psychologist, Dr. Jaime Zuckerman, who's been on the show many times, is here. You have 3 kids.
3, yes.
Ages?
12, 9, and 7.
So how old is this young man who's accused of killing somebody?
He's 13.
He's 13.
Yeah.
So...
And the interesting thing, too, the reason why parents are talking about this is because the parents had no idea. They thought they knew their child.
Yep. They thought they knew their child. They thought that, it was a close-knit, tight family, and they thought they had open lines of communication. They thought they did everything right. And I think that's why it's so scary and so relatable.
Mm-hmm. Would you watch it with your children?
So I would watch it with my almost 13-year-old son.
Okay.
But with a very specific conversation first. Explain why we're watching it, have a conversation about it. I think it depends on the maturity level of your child. I think it depends on kind of where they're at socially, but never assume, I always say this, never assume they're telling you everything.
Yeah, and then just not quiz them, but have them talk while you're watching it. That's
Yes.
what I would do.
Yes, I would.
Okay, what'd you think of that? What'd you think of that?
Yeah, I would pause it. I would ask them questions and ask them to repeat back to me what they think they're watching so that I know that they're understanding
That's
it.
a good idea.
I think it's interesting that folks are talking about, and we mentioned toxic masculinity, and usually I think most people think of adult men having these feelings. Let's first talk about what is toxic masculinity, and how does that translate when it comes to kids who are in the single digits, who are like 9 and 7?
Yeah. So toxic masculinity is this view of very traditional gender roles, but to the extreme, very misogynistic views. This view that the world is female dominated and that men must kind of rebalance the scales by whatever means necessary. And it not only it brings about aggression, but it almost encourages aggression and violence, which leads to oppression of women and a lot of violence against women. And that's what we see
Like
in
a
this.
man, we should be running the show still. Let's go back to that.
Yes.
Or even the quote that we heard in the trailer, there's 80% of women are choosing 20% of the men. Does it feel like women are making you not feel good enough, so you have to assert dominance?
Yes, so that 80%, it's 80-20 rule. 80% of women are attracted to only 20% of men, which puts men at a disadvantage. Therefore, they must engage in these manipulative, aggressive, sometimes violent tactics to get women. They have this, it's kind of this entitlement to women.
What about the gender-based violence that they talk about?
Yeah, so that goes along with that, and that's what toxic masculinity promotes, this gender-based violence, that women are inferior to men, and that it's a very distinct misogynistic viewpoint.
Was the little boy, 14 did he already have toxic masculinity?
So what we learned through this, so one of the things that is missing throughout the first, definitely the first episode, I can't remember if it comes into the second, is the motive behind the killing. So we know that he did it, but the motive is very unclear, and we learned throughout the series that it's based on adolescence kind of code language that they use, and these kind of hidden misogynistic comments on Instagram and things like that. So it goes into cyberbullying, and so that was more the motive, that he felt he needed to revenge because she was rejecting him.
So as a parent, then, how can we tap into this? How can we see what our child, because you may think, I checked their social media, but we wouldn't know the codes and the language that's being used.
No. I ask our babysitters. Honestly, I ask our babysitters what certain things mean. I go through my kids' text messages, whether they like it or not. And they're aware that you're doing this, or do you take the phone and then? I take the phone. I let them know if they're going to have a phone. Occasionally, I'm going to go through it.
That's one of the rules.
Yeah. And I think it's just important to have an open line of communication. That even if it's bad, they have to be able to tell you. Otherwise, you're not going to know.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes. Let us know what you think. Have you been watching? Will you watch? And will you watch with your kids? We're coming right back.